Alright, so this is an update on the Dwarf Tamarillo, and I figured I'd give you a early taste test on it and kind of show you around the plant a little bit where we're at and how much this plant is actually fruiting. It's actually fruiting unbelievably. There is more fruit on here than I would probably normally know what to do with, but it's not that unreasonable being the size of the fruit itself. They're actually quite small. I would imagine they get bigger. I mean, these ones that are on here are already starting to get bigger. So if I leave them on there, they might grow to full size. If they do, I'll update you one more time at the end of the year. Maybe I'll do a harvest video, and I'll show you how many I got off it or something to that effect. Let's see what it brings at the end of the year. But anyway, this is where we're at. And you can see like there's quite a few of these things on here. They're all over the place. You can see I still got tons of flower buds coming out. They're all the way up there, all the way up there. The whole top of the greenhouse is getting covered with these things. I mean, these things are literally all over the place. It's incredible how many... I mean, this thing did better than my blueberries up here. I mean, it's like 10 times more blueberries than my blueberries did. So, this is the other tree, the other Dwarf Tamarillo. Now, let's see. Now, what I noticed with these... with these fruits is generally what happens is they form this little egg here, and they stay green like that for a few weeks, a month, and they just stayed like that. They weren't doing anything. I figured, uh-oh, this thing is going to be a dud, huh? It's not gonna do anything. It's just going to kind of sit there, and they're probably going to fall off and be pea-sized, you know, fruits, and I don't know if I'm going to see any fruit off it. So what I noticed is it basically what happens is it goes from this pea-sized state, which just kind of sits there for like, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks like that. And then it goes from that state to this state like overnight. Like these things will swell right up overnight and become huge, just like what you see here. And not huge, but they're like twice the size of it. So it'll go from like that size to twice the size overnight. Here's one that's starting to turn here. You see how that one's like just starting to turn a little bit orange now? Well, that thing a day ago, maybe, was about the size of that, which was much smaller. So these things turn very fast, and they swell right up and get big, like almost instantly. It's really strange. I've never really seen fruit do that. I've always seen fruit slowly develop to its green size, and it gets to a certain size, and then boom, it changes color, and then, I don't know, you pick them and you eat them. Generally, they don't go from like stay like that and then like overnight the next day it turns like yellow and it swells up to twice the size. It's just a little strange for me to see a fruit do that. Now, will they get bigger than this if I just leave them on there? I have no idea at this point. This is kind of an early look at it. And so they might, and I'm not going to pick all the fruits off it, but I am going to pick one and taste test it and at this stage of the game. And that way, if they do get bigger and down the road they have a different flavor profile, well, I could say, well, if you eat these, you're going to want to pick them at this stage or that stage. So we're picking these a few days into this now. This has already turned in a few days. I'm sure if I leave it on there, they'll probably get a lot bigger. They'll probably get maybe double the size of that. But as of right now, we'll pick this one here. Where are you? We'll pick this one right here, which you can see the size of it. It's kind of small. It's got a little hair on it. And to pick them, they just come right off very easily. So that gives me the impression that you can eat these when they're kind of in this stage better. Maybe they get bigger. I don't know. I would imagine they do. I mean, this thing got this size as opposed to this size like overnight. So if it got that big so quickly overnight, well, I would imagine they're probably going to get a lot bigger. And if they get bigger, the flavor profile may change. But we'll taste one in a berry size state the way it is. Alright, so let me just show you to give you a better view of this. I don't know what light is going to work for this. What angle of light. Maybe that angle. And there is a fuzz on the outside of this thing, just so you know. It's kind of fuzzy. That may go away if you leave it on there and let it fully mature so it falls off the tree. I don't know. I've never grown this before. I wouldn't know anything about it. So there is a little bit of a flavor, fuzziness on it. I would imagine that probably goes away. That's the bottom of it. And let's bite it in half, I guess, and show you what the inside looks like. Alright, so here it is. That's what it looks like. Let's bite this thing in half if I could without it gushing all over the place. It's kind of soft right now. If I squeezed it, it'd pop like a berry. So it's kind of soft, but it feels like you could leave it on there a little longer. I would imagine it's not going to be rotten on the thing. So let me try to bite it in half and show you what the inside looks like. As far as the taste goes, it's really kind of hard to describe this. This is nothing like what people are saying it tastes like a tomato. Mine tastes like, I kind of hard to explain. It doesn't taste anything like a tomato. I would imagine he's probably going to have to ripen a little more to get that awkward taste out of there. There's a kind of an awkward taste in there. There is a sweetness to it, but right now there's an awkward taste. I don't know if that's just because I'm picking these on fully ripened or how they got to grow more. The seeds are very tiny in here, so I imagine the seeds are going to have to get a little larger, so we're probably picking these a little early. That's all right. If I see more development in that fruit as it gets older, then I'm going to add that to this review and show you what it looks like when it gets fully mature and then do another taste test. But eating them this small, when they first start turning yellow like this, there's kind of a funny taste to it. And it's kind of very pronounced and strong. Now, I told you that the Dwarf Tamarillo here has a funny tar-like smell to it when you rub the leaves. It has a very distinct odor. It's not bad or anything, but it does have a distinct odor to it. So I'm kind of getting that distinct odor flavor in this fruit, is what I'm trying to get at. And put a little sweetness on it. It's like having bad underarm odor and then put a little perfume onto that. So it's like you're putting perfume and you still smell a bad on. It's kind of like that, but you're using, we're talking about flavors here, so it's like having sweetness over something that tastes bad, and you ain't going to hide that one. All right, let me try to describe this the best way I can. The only thing I could say is it tastes like some kind of a tropical fruit. The texture of it very jam-like. It's very soft and jelly-y, like it mousses right up in your mouth. So that's the first thing. Now, when I first bit it, that awkward flavor that I'm telling you about, that awkward flavor dissipated, and the second time I bit into it, I really didn't even affect me. So my palate adjusted to that offset flavor. Am I out too far? It adjusted right away, but it's very high sugar content fruit. My fingers are sticky just from the juice a little bit that got on my fingers from biting it in half. So it's very, very high in sugar. It's definitely a high sugar fruit. Because my fingers are sticky. I barely even got any on my fingers, and I could feel the tackiness from it. Seeds are very small. That's not an issue with it. There is a sweetness to it, and it's very strong in sweetness. I would imagine if you got enough of these, you could probably squeeze the juice out of it. It's that kind of a thing, but it's going to be a very thick type of juice, like a syrup almost. I would say just, if you're going to use these for anything, you could probably make a jam out of it. That would probably be the best thing I could think of, other than eating them raw and stuff. But I don't know if you'd want to make a smoothie with them. I guess you can add them to a smoothie. That awkward flavor that's in there, I don't know. That's kind of funny. You got to really let your palate adjust. I wouldn't make a pina colada and throw a handful of those in there. That would ruin your pina colada. Banana and orange, maybe you can mix that in there somehow. I don't know. Maybe make its own drink. I'd have to get enough of these and really experiment with them. And if I do get enough, maybe I will. I mean, I do got to save a good amount of seeds from these at some point so I can offer them. But as far as the flavor goes, it's like a tropical fruit kind of a flavor. It's very unique to itself. It doesn't taste like what I don't know, the typical Tamarillo that people describe as the tomato and berry flavor. So far, what I just ate doesn't taste anything like that. This tasted like a tropical type fruit that had a very unique flavor. It has a undertone to it that is kind of awkward, but you could, if you're somebody who likes to experiment with these kind of things, you could easily adjust to it. It's not absolutely unhorrible or unbearable, but it does leave like a aftertaste with you that kind of resonates with you. You have to learn to acquire your taste buds to it, basically a little bit. But the sweet part of it's delicious. I like the fruity part of it. That tasted really good. It's just that other awkward flavor. It's not bad. I will eat them. I don't have an issue with that. It's just like I say, for most people, they would probably maybe not like it, you know, is what I'm trying to get at. And outside of that, it's pretty good. Like I say, you could probably make a jam with it. I guess you can make smoothies with it, unless that flavor part disappears down the road. I don't know. We'll have to see what these do by the end of the season, see if they rot and fall off just the way they are, and that means that is their ripest state, or does it actually keep going? I would imagine those seeds were a little small. They were very tiny, actually, and so I would imagine that they need to get a little bigger, so this has probably got a little bit more to go. Most of the videos I've seen on the Dwarf Tamarillo where people are showing them, or images I've seen, they're normally maybe 2 to 3 times the size of what I just ate. So this may be a little immature, and it needs to mature a little. Maybe the fuzz kind of disappears as it matures. The fuzz wasn't an issue, by the way. It's not uncomfortable or anything. It's just, figured I'd let you know that it does have a little fuzz, at least in this stage. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll make an update to this video. We'll attach it at the end of the year, I guess end of August or September, and we'll see where we're at and what if it gets any bigger or flavor changes, and we'll attach it at the end of the video. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Well, I'm doing pod reviews out here, and I figure while I'm out here doing pod reviews, I really need to cool off my palate because I just did a couple of super hots. And these are just about perfect. I've been eating these things now. You can see I'm picking off all my buds. I'm eating them. So I will save some for the end of the year to get some seeds out of it. But I don't think I'm going to save that many of them. So I guess this will be the last review on it. Just to show you how big this thing actually got. Look at the size of the stem on this thing. This was supposed to be the dwarf. I don't think this thing's dwarf at all. This thing's all the way up to the ceiling. It's going all the way up to the ridge on my greenhouse, which is roughly 15 or so feet off the ground. So I don't know how big this thing's going to get, but it's putting out a ton of these little orange little tamarillos. And so far, they're not getting too much bigger than what you see here. Maybe slightly bigger. I have seen people show some of these that were much bigger than this. I don't know. These aren't getting too much bigger than a large blueberry, basically. That's about the size that they're getting. So I have been eating them. Some of them did fall on the floor, so I try to get them before that happens. But let's eat that one. And now I changed my opinion. I did a video earlier on it, and I was kind of like, the first flavor that you get hit with, it was really like, I said it tastes like road tar. But I changed my opinion on it. It does have a really sharp kind of a flavor in the beginning, but you get used to it really quickly, and then you start to enjoy them. So let me eat this one. It's got a weird kind of a berry flavor of some kind. A weird kind of it's got some kind of a strange fruit berry flavor to it. It's very unique in its taste and its flavor. It tastes nothing like tomato. I don't know if this is the same kind of a flavor as a regular Tamarillo is going to have, but as far as the Dwarf Tamarillo, it doesn't taste anything like tomato. So forget that. I know a lot of people saying that Tamarillo's got like a sweet tomato flavor. It's nothing like that at all. This tastes like a berry of some kind. And it's very sweet. And it has this kind of a flavor to it. It has like a kind of a sharp contrast in flavor. Not bad or anything, but it does have this. When I first ate it, I was uncomfortable with it because it was very foreign to my palate. But now that I've been eating these things on and off for the last few days, I really got to like them quite a bit. I actually like this, the effect from this. They're very addictive. They got like the texture of it and everything is kind of like a jam. It's like going into a very well-made, thick kind of homemade jam, and take a spoonful of that and eat it. It's got that kind of, you could like, I'll put it this way. You could break these things and squeeze them out onto a piece of bread and spread it with a spoon. It'd spread just like jam. You don't need to make jam with these things. You can put it on bread and make like peanut butter and jelly instead of using like jelly from the jelly jar. You just take these things and put them on top of the sandwich and eat them. They turn right to jam. Just did a pod review, so I'm burning up still. I'm sorry if I'm like all stuffy in the mouth and head. They're great. I really like these a lot. I could eat these things all day. What I can say, if you're going to grow this plant, what I've noticed is, my recommendation to you is you can as soon as these things turn, like on here, as soon as they get like that dark orange color to it, you can even eat them like this, or slightly light orange. You can eat them just like that. They're still sweet. You can probably even eat them like this, which I could do if you want. I don't really want to do that, but you could probably eat them like that. But once they get once they start turning orange, you can start eating them. But if you let them wait until they're all the way at this point here, if I could even get up there. You got to watch, because you pull one down, they'll all fall on the floor on you. They separate from the thing very easily. Now, that's got like a nice orange color. They got the best sweetness when you let them ripen all the way. Here's one up here. Let me try to get it with the stem. No, the stem don't want to go. So I'm just going to separate it like that. They come right off. They don't. There's no. They don't hesitate at all. That's a nice deep orange. You want to get them when they're at their deepest orange, but if you leave them on too long, they get really soft. They'll within like a day or two, they'll turn into like a mushy jelly. As soon as you pick it, it'll squish right in your hand. You get really, 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 really soft. So you want to kind of get them when there's still a little bit firmness to them, but if I squeeze this, it'll gel. Right now, I'm turning it to gel as I move that. These things are really good. They're really, really, really good. I love this thing now. I could eat these things all day. I just wish they were bigger. They're so small. I guess they would get bigger if I grew it in a bigger pot and grew it out in the yard and everything. I'm sure they would get bigger. But again, this tree took 2 years before it started producing fruit. So you're going to need to winter it over, and you're not going to winter over something that is this big. Just to give you a size of the magnitude, I had no idea this thing was going to grow this massive. Look at that massive trunk on this thing. I mean, this is a tree. I had no idea it was going to get this big. I thought it was just going to stay small like last year. This thing exploded this year. So here's the other one over here. Very addictive. Very, very addictive, those fruits. And the leaves are all yellowing towards the lower part. As the plant grows, all those leaves are all falling off on the bottom. But then it puts out new leaves up there, and they get even bigger. So it's really building a huge canopy up here. It's really funny. But yeah, this is another one. I had no idea that this thing was going to actually get this big, and it's just absolutely enormous. So on your second year, you better plan where you're going to plant it, because it's going to get really huge like a tree. Or a very large, tall bush, and it's going to put out a ton of these little fruits on here that are absolutely delicious, guys. These things are really, really good. Very addictive. I can eat these things all day now. You know, and I hope it. And you can see I got dozens upon dozens of them, all up on top by the glass, all over the place up there. So I'm gonna have hundreds of these things to eat, which is not a problem because all the birds picked my blueberries this year. So I kind of got ripped off on the blueberries, but this is gonna make up for it tenfold. I'm gonna eat more of these things than blueberries. So anyway, that was just a quick look at it. Figured I'd share that with you. I won't bug you guys anymore showing you this thing. But I know if you're going to be growing this, you're really going to want to see as much as you can. So you kind of know what to expect. You know, you can kind of plan for it a little better. I didn't plan to plant a tree among my peppers like this. I would have never done that. I would have put it in here. I would have let that thing grow in there. It would have gotten huge. I would have gotten tons and tons of berries. But I put it here because I didn't think it was going to grow. I never grew it before. I had no idea. Well, now I know, and so it is what it is. I can't move it now. So anyway, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.